this podcast is for you guys that want to get inspired by other people's journeys, and also to help you transform your life to live a life less of stress and more of purpose. And today we have an amazing guest here, Gael Paton. I don't know how you pronounce your name. Is that correct?
That's correct, Gael Paton. Absolutely correct.
And from all the way from New Zealand. So great to have you on this show. And you're an amazing person to have conquered two of the main traumas in life that many women are experience of, and like with miscarriage and also living in a narcissistic abusive relationship. Right. So, and I think many people resonate with this story that you're going to tell us. And I hope also that we will answer many questions that you viewers have about how to escape from this and also heal from the heartbreaking experience of having miscarriages and also living in an abusive relationship. So a warm welcome to you, Gael. Could you start off by presenting yourself to the viewers so we know who you are?
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. As Stina said, I'm Gael Paton here in Auckland, New Zealand. And thank you so much for the opportunity to come and just share a little bit of my journey. I guess my journey is no different to, many other women, sadly. So I actually had 7 miscarriages over a period of time. And during that time, I was so sure that I was going to have a big family and that I would never give up hope. But I got to 5 and I was carrying twins and lost one. And I was able to have the other twin went on to full time. And so I did have a beautiful baby boy, which was lovely. And he is such a blessing. And then I had another miscarriage, a broken marriage, and then went on to have one more baby some almost 9 years after my first baby. So it was quite a long period of time that this was happening. Unfortunately, the last miscarriage that I had didn't end so well, and I got into my second trimester and I was told that my baby hadn't grown. I went into hospital, and sadly I hemorrhaged and had to have an emergency hysterectomy, nearly died, and it really did change the course of my life.
Of course. Oh, I mean, this is like a merry-go-round going through miscarriages and everything. I mean, it's like you live on hope and fear and so many emotions involved in that, right? So, and I can imagine during such a long period of time, 9 years, then you can start getting those negative beliefs and think I can't have a baby, or it's not going my way, or it's, different kind of negative beliefs that you had about yourself. And I guess that you had a narcissistic relationship in this period also. Was he involved in this No,
this was, the narcissistic part came after. And I think what you were saying is that that negative feeling that you have, it builds up over a period of time. So with each miscarriage, I think a little part of me just sort of, it died with every baby. And then I, because of all of these negative thoughts, my husband and I ended up splitting up, and I was on my own for a little while, very lost, very vulnerable. I honestly wasn't behaving very well. I was drinking too much, and I did not deal with all of those. I didn't grieve. I didn't deal with things very well at all.
And those negative beliefs, I guess those negative beliefs of yourself, and also, I mean, you can start by self-sabotaging yourself if you feel that you have not healed and you're not, if you say vulnerable, then you choose to sabotage yourself. Is that what you think happened with you after those miscarriages and the period after that?
Yeah, I definitely think there was a big element of that. When you're young and you think that you can control the world, that you have, every opportunity, and you're very confident. And I had in my mind I was going to have the idyllic life, the get married, the have the children, settle down. And of course, that really didn't work out like that. It was one sort of heartbreak after another. But instead of dealing with it and grieving all the way along, I decided I was Superwoman or something, and just decided everything was fine. I was fine. I could do this. I was, I fought it all the way. But I think the very last time, when I ended up obviously in hospital and quite seriously ill after the emergency hysterectomy, it all came crashing down on me. So all that vulnerability, and as you said, the self-sabotage, the kind of behavior. I mean, obviously there was a big element of depression involved in that, and that can manifest itself in so many different ways, as you know.
Yeah.
So difficult times for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then I think many people resonate with this, because we live in this is such a usual, unfortunately, a very usual situation for many, both miscarriages and also living in an abusive relationship. And that can be in different, I mean, you have 7 miscarriages and also have living in an abusive relationship afterwards. So the self-doubt that is there. Many people have different emotions, but I can guess you had a lot of self-doubt. And when did you see, okay, I need to do something about this is not working out for me? And when did you replace that to some positive thoughts and self-empowerment? When did that shift happen, and what was it that made it happen, that you realized that I can't live like this anymore, and I need to take control of myself and love myself, and choose well-being?
So there was a couple of different stages in my life where I thought I was on the right path. I decided that I would go back to university, and I did some studying, and that kept my mind busy. And I also had a great job that I really enjoyed, and I worked really hard at that. But after my husband and I split up, there was so many things that happened. I thought I was this in control woman, and that's when I got myself into the most trouble, because I met a man who I thought was incredible. He was so charming and so interested in me, I thought. And I guess you could probably describe me as an empath. Like I am quite the sort of person who wants to help. And this man needed a lot of help. And so he basically
needed that, right?
Out of me.
You felt needed in that situation, perhaps. Is that what
I did
kept you stuck? Yeah, most people do. And how can you tell us a little bit about this relationship? How was it? What was this abuse about? Was it physical abuse? Was it mental abuse? Or was it both? Or how did that emerge in your relationship with him?
At first, it seemed lovely. And then bit by bit, there were so many red flags that I chose to ignore. There were the secretive phone messages and calls. And of course, I discovered that he was, cheating. He broke, I think, 3 mobile phones when I asked to see his phone over a period of time, just smashed them so that I wouldn't have access to them. I mean, in hindsight, I look back on it now. I mean, it was devastating and awful. He was physically abusive, and blamed me that I had made him so angry that he needed to lash out at me. He made me feel like I was crazy. And to be honest, it got to the point where I believed that I was crazy. The gaslighting, all of that sort of behavior that makes you question every second of every day that you're living in this hell. So, it's very difficult to be in a relationship like that.
And in those kinds of relationships, you can feel also a little bit dependent on it, and you get isolated. Did you feel that you had no control over your life at that point, that you were just living his life and you were like, okay, I'm not worried of anything, I just live it like this and accept it? Or what was your thoughts, mentally thoughts? I mean, if you get physical abuse also, mental is also very, the both are horrible situations, right? So of course you can start believing everything he says and everything, but did you feel like, how did you feel about your life then? I mean, did you feel like, yeah, I can get out of this, or I just accept it? Or what were your inner dialogue?
I think I got so sad. I got so disappointed in myself, that everything about myself and the person that I had thought I was, a strong, resilient sort of person, just seemed to diminish. And I consider myself to be an intelligent woman, and yet I was in a relationship that sometimes you would read about and think, oh, that poor woman, why doesn't she just leave? It's not that easy. It really isn't that easy, because you are in such a difficult place. You lose all of your strength. Something completely changes in your mind, and it's like a brainwashing almost. And it took such a long time for me to realize that it had to change. I had to change.
And what steps did you take then? Did you have a network that helped you, or were you like, okay, I'm living a lie here, nobody knows my reality? So what was the steps to getting out of this relationship and taking control of your life?
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I virtually cut myself off for everybody. And he was so controlling that he even stood over me when I put a post up on Facebook, or something like that, to show that we were like the perfect couple. So nobody on the outside knew. They thought that we were just living this very happy life, and everything was perfect, and I was too busy. And so I just kept it like that for quite a long time, and I was drinking a lot. That was how I sort of coped. And then one night I had too much to drink, and I fell and I hit my head, and the next morning I woke up and something changed. And I thought, I was so embarrassed and so mortified, and realized what, all those red flags just, were flying in front of my face. And I knew that was the moment that I had to do something about it. And it took me nearly a year. I had a plan, and yes, and then I escaped, basically.
Was that something that you want to tell more about? I mean, how this it's 1 year. I mean, many people live in this narcissistic abusive relationship, and it takes always a very long time before you end it, and 1 year is anyway it's a long period, but it's not in this kind of situation, right? So what was the steps that you did, and how did you escape from it?
So we were very involved with a sort of a club together. And so I was sort of a manager and he was a coach. And so all of those sorts of things I had to unravel. I had to step away and step back from all these sorts of things, because everyone thought he was so fantastic. They all thought he was lovely.
There are so manipulative, right? So you believe very charming people, right?
Oh, yes. Outside, extremely charming. Extremely charming. And so there was that element of it. And then, of course, there was just, the situation of the house. He also kept saying, I told him a couple of times that I was going to leave, and he said, "You'll never leave me." So, I was battling that all the time. And then the opportunity came when I knew he was going to go away for about a month, towards the last part of that year. And I took that opportunity, and I packed everything up, and I made all the things all the practical things that you have to think about. I found a place to live, and I was actually able to do it and to leave.
And that when you leave and that kind of relationship, it must have felt such a freedom, and like all the negative energy from someone else is disappearing. Or did you have that long with you after this? Was it like a trauma that you kept with you for a long period of time afterwards? Or did you like, okay, I'll leave it now, it's free? Or did you have to work on yourself after that? Or did it just release something for you? Many people say release energy. The energy of negativity is just gone, but you still have the mental process still.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental trauma, and I think that combined with the sadness of the things that had happened with losing the babies, and all of a sudden I had a lot to deal with, and I needed to step through each of them. So it did take quite some time. I didn't rush back into going out with family and all that kind of thing. I stepped my way back into it as well. I needed to really nurture myself all the way through. And I'd always been a person that could never say no to anything. And I actually started to find some of those strengths about to conserve my energy, to do the things that I knew I needed to do. I needed to keep a job and, all of those sorts of things, and look after my mental health. And bit by bit, over a period of time, I realized that I didn't feel as sad anymore, that I was more in control, that things, were feeling better.
Great. You seem such a courageous woman with lots of power, and energy. And I mean, this is a really keeps people going and getting hope if you listen to this story, right? And I would like to ask you, when you are in that situation, you always feel, okay, I'm not worthy of anything. I'm a weak person, and everything is very negative. But you're proof that you are a very strong person. People that are in these kinds of relationships are often very strong people. What advice would you give people that are in this situation and are really not feeling that they have the courage or strength to escape and to get the control of your life? What would you say to those people that are in a similar situation?
Once you've come out the other side, and you know that there are so many people in their same circumstances, that there are a lot of us who truly understand and will help. There are people out there who will help. And I think what we tend to do when we're in those circumstances is that we do hide away, when actually we should be saying, help me. I need someone to hold my hand and help me out of this situation, because I'm not in control of it anymore. And it is a difficult thing to do, but trust that people will help. There are people out there who can guide you and take you step by step.
Yeah. And that's a good advice, because when you ask for help, people are often willing to help. And in these kinds of situations, you need to have people to help you also. You can do it by yourself, but the process afterwards is really important to have your support system to find it. And then you can find it in likewise people. And in your case, you are also into this, you have told your story through this book that we are in together. And how was that for you? Was that liberating to just write it off, or how did you experience that, to just tell the world that this is my life, this is what I've been through? How did that influence your healing process, do you think?
Isn't it an incredible thing? By chance, sometimes these things happen in life. And, Sumako contacted and said, do you have a story to tell? And I told him a little bit, and he said, I think you should start writing. And that's exactly what I did. And to be honest, I must have written my story a million times in my head, and sometimes had put a few notes down. But this actually made me stop and actually put it on paper. And even though I thought I was completely healed, and this has only just been in the last, sort of 6 to 8 months, I cried. I cried almost like for the first 1,000 words that I put, on paper.
But that's a wonderful cry, right? That is a wonderful cry.
It is. It was like a huge, that last bit of release that you need to let it go. And now I'm pleased to say that, when you're writing these stories, as you know, you have to do it many, many times to get it right. And now I can write it and I can read it and I don't feel that same sense of complete loss as I did the first time around. I actually feel like I'm almost through this journey. Still got probably lots of learning to do, but it is an amazing cathartic feeling to have written it and to understand it better. You really do understand your story better once you write it.
And I think that is good advice, people that are just tell your story and break free from those feelings that you have that you can't. If you have shame feelings or whatever your feelings are, just talk it out loud, and then you get free. You get some kind of liberating feeling anyway, and it's a step forward to healing. So it's really great. And I also have the similar experience. So I know that feeling when you write things down, you write your traumas down, and then you tell that to the world. And it helps other people also, and that's a good thing for you also when you are in that situation, to really have it on paper and you realize that this is my life, and I have succeeded to get free from this abusive relationship, and I really have conquered that, and I am a step better towards being who I want to be. Because obviously when you are in an abusive relationship, you sometimes you don't know yourself anymore, right? So you live another person's life and your own identity is like diminished. So I can imagine that was the same thing for you. And how did you take control of that part in your life? When you seem like your authentic self now, and you feel like you're in a good place now, right? But how did you find back to your true self from that experience and having those traumas that you had to take care of afterwards, right?
Yeah, I guess part of it was I actually changed the way I was living, and I was able to go back to university and do a master's in communication and media, which I absolutely loved. And it wasn't just about the subject matter. It was about the journey of learning and being around people, young people and people who were learning the same as me. And it was all through COVID during that time. So it was a wonderful experience. And when I completed that, I made the decision to stop working, and I went overseas for 7 months, and I traveled around solo. And I think that might have been the last piece of the puzzle, because I realized I actually was very strong and I could do all these things on my own, and I was okay. I just had the most amazing time.
And you perhaps needed that time to reflect, self-reflection. That's great advice. How would you give like some, when you want to build that emotional resilience that you obviously have now, to thrive and just go through with this? I mean, in your case, having self-reflection and going around the world and like feeling that you can take control of your life, that's one tip, But what other advice would you give to people to start their healing journey?
The good thoughts and not the bad thoughts, that I was capable of doing it. If I'd stopped for 5 seconds and thought, what are you doing? You can't travel around the world on your own. What if something happens to you? I just wouldn't let any of those negative thoughts into my head. And it was the same with like, what are you doing going back to university at your age? That's ridiculous. I just wouldn't allow myself to listen to those negative thoughts. And I took one day at a time, just like I did when I, was leaving that bad relationship. And even when I, felt like sometimes when I had to sit an exam and I thought, oh no, put myself under all this extra stress, I just kept believing in myself and that I could do it. And I did.
Yeah. And that those negative thoughts, it can be your abusive relationships thoughts. It can be any other thoughts. What are your thoughts that you want to have in those situations? You want to feel that you can do it, and you have the positive thoughts. So good for you that you say stop and just replace them. Because I think that is the trick for many people also, to one step ahead, to go through the transformation that you need to do. Because if you are in an abusive relationship, or if you have miscarriages or any other traumas, you have to go through a transformation within yourself, to really realizing what you're living and who do you want to be. So it's good for you that you realize that, and it's a good inspiration for others also, I think, to listen to your story. I was also going to ask you some more about your own situation now. Is it something that you would like to leave people? You're a good place now, as you've told, of course. Is there some more advice that you would like to, some final words that you would like to share for people to take the step and to follow their true purpose and also living a life that is good for them? What would that advice be?
So I think chasing your dreams is a great thing. I had from quite a young age always wanted to travel, and I did quite a lot of it with jobs and that kind of thing. But my mother was born in Northern Ireland and she never got to go back. And as part of my journey, I actually made contact with family members over there and was able to go and spend time with them. And it was amazing and everything that I had hoped it would be. And it felt like I'd gone full circle. My mother passed away some years ago, and I always felt like I wanted to go back for her. And she left when she was a small girl, when things were difficult in Northern Ireland for her family. So that was one really amazing piece of the journey. The other thing is, I guess, now that I understand more about miscarriage, I've allowed myself to read and research a lot more. I know that 23 million women go through miscarriage every year. That's a phenomenal amount of women who are out there, probably, very sad, very unhappy, not really knowing what happened to them. And, when you open up with your story, isn't it incredible how many people say that happened to me and I've never talked to anybody about it? So it's like a coming together of women who have been in the same situation. Not just women, though. The other day I was speaking with somebody, a man who was going to take my photos for the book, actually, and he was very quiet when I explained to him why I was having the photos taken and what my story was about. I didn't go into a lot of detail. And after a little while, he said to me, my wife and I went through that too. He said, we didn't know who to talk to or what to do. And so, sometimes just by opening up and having the strength to talk, you can find somebody who can share the same kind of experiences and understand what you've gone through.
And that's really good advice. And for these two situations, there are so many in those similar situations. So great advice. And thank you again, Gael, for being on this show. You're a courageous person that really walks the steps and felt the pain and being on a very, very difficult situation and taking your courage and finding your strength to step out of it and really find your true self and also living a good life now. I am really happy for you, and it will be inspirational for others also, I think, to really listen to your advice and also what you've been through. And I would like to thank you for being on this show. And for people that are listening, if this episode resonates with you, please subscribe to this podcast, and you will hear similar stories and also other people's journeys that could inspire you to take actions, whatever place you're in your life. So thank you again for listening, and until next time, bye for now.
Thank you, Stina. Bye.
Bye. Bye.